The late 19th century, a time of great change and mystery, a time of gaslight romance? Not in New England. Here, the nights were filled with shadows and whispers. A different horror gripped the region, one that crept into the hearts of its people. Villages whispered of vampires, not the suave Count Dracula kind, but something far more sinister and close to home. These were homegrown monsters, believed to rise from their graves to prey on the living, spreading fear and dread. This wasn't just spooky folklore. People truly believed it, and their fear was palpable. They dug up graves, desperate to stop a terrifying disease consumption known today as tuberculosis. This disease ravaged families, and in their desperation, they turned to the supernatural for answers. Medical knowledge was limited, and the cause of tuberculosis was a mystery. People believed that the dead were somehow responsible for the spread of the disease. Rituals were performed and graves were disturbed in a desperate attempt to protect the living from the unseen terror. This was a time when fear and superstition ruled the night. Tuberculosis, or consumption as it was called, was a terrifying mystery. In the 19th century, it was one of the leading causes of death, claiming millions of lives. The disease was relentless, spreading through communities with little warning. It wasted people away, leaving them pale and weak, with a persistent cough that seemed to echo the despair of their condition. The relentless coughing, night sweats and weight loss were unmistakable signs of its grip. Families watched helplessly as loved ones succumbed, one after another. Ignorance bred fear, and the lack of understanding only deepened the sense of dread. Hospitals were overwhelmed, and the air was thick with sorrow and uncertainty. People sought explanations in the supernatural. In a time before modern science, the unknown bred wild theories and desperate beliefs. The fear of the unseen and the inexplicable led many to seek answers in folklore and myth. Folklore provided a culprit vampires. These mythical creatures were thought to rise from the grave to feast on the living, a chilling explanation that seemed to fit the mysterious nature of the disease. These creatures, it was believed, drained the life force of their victims, mirroring the effects of the disease. The idea of a vampire's curse offered a tangible enemy, something to blame for the relentless suffering and death that plagued communities. One case stands out. Mercy Brown of Rhode Island. She died of consumption in 1892. Her brother Edwin soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Panic gripped the family. They remembered the old folklore. Could Mercy, now a vampire, be draining Edwin's life? Desperate, they exhumed her body. Unearthing the dead. Mercy's body, though buried for months, showed signs of decomposition, interpreted as signs of undeath. Her heart, they said, was unnaturally full of blood. They burned her heart and lungs, mixing the ashes with water. This gruesome concoction, they believed, would cure Edwin. He died 2 months later. In this chapter, we delve into the chilling tales that have haunted New England for centuries. The Mercy Brown case wasn't isolated. It was part of a larger, more terrifying phenomenon that gripped the region. Across New England, similar rituals were performed. Communities gripped by fear resorted to desperate measures to protect themselves from the perceived threat of vampires. Fear, fueled by ignorance, led to the desecration of the dead. Graves were disturbed and bodies were exhumed in a frantic attempt to stop the spread of the so-called vampire curse. The vampire panic reveals the power of fear in the face of the unknown. It shows how easily fear can spread and take hold of entire communities, leading them to commit acts they would never consider under normal circumstances. It's a stark reminder that even in the face of death, sometimes the living can be more terrifying. The echoes of fear from that era still resonate today, reminding us of the dark corners of human nature and the lengths to which people will go when driven by fear.